Pastor Dennis?
I'm fine.
I know. I saw you. I know.
I don't know what it is about today, but I'm sitting on here 20 minutes early waiting for this show to start.
Uh-huh.
And just as the music starts, then it tells me I have to let some update happen for the video to work. And when that happens, now it won't get internet on the computer. So I had to try on my phone.
I think sometimes, we plan and the God and the universe decide. He said, okay, we plan for things to happen, and then the universe and God said, okay, no. There is something different that I want you to do today, or maybe it needs to start later because somebody else needs to see or hear this. I don't know, but I just gonna get the positive side of it,
Mm-hmm.
So we starting when we're supposed to start, I guess. That's what I like to, and at this point in our life, I don't like to force anything. I like, so. But I wanted to say hello to everyone that's listening to us through VT Radio Universal here in Washington State. I like to emphasize that we are in the state of Washington, because a lot of people, when they hear Washington, they think Washington, D.C. That Washington, D.C. today is a hot mess. So to everyone that is listening to us through VT Radio Universal, thank you. My name is Yazmin Ford, host of the show Siembra, and I'm here with my co-host, Pastor Dennis Gunnarson, and we're gonna talk about a heavy subject today. We're gonna talk about the conflict in the Middle East, the religious part of it, and why it is that it's so controversial, because there is scripturally, there is some things that people think they base on scripture and they need to happen because it is in the Bible. The humanity part of it, that it should be the part that concern all of us as human beings. That should be the number one part of it, the humanity part of it. And then we have the territorial or physical part of it that is also part of this conflict, that is connected to the religious part of it, the spiritual part of it too. And why it is that the European countries like United States, Britain or England, and Australia and Germany, all of these countries are so invested in this conflict too. So we're gonna try. We are not scholars of this subject. We just gonna give our opinions based on the knowledge that we know, that we have. And mindful and everybody that we not pretend to know everything that we're going to be talking today. But more than anything, we're going to, based on the facts that we know and the research that I have done, I'm going to just give my opinion on what I think is going on in the Middle East. So to everyone, welcome to Siembra in this beautiful morning. They say it's not gonna rain today. They say it's gonna be pretty sunny. So I think today and tomorrow is gonna be a nice day. And then Tuesday they say it's gonna rain. I wanna wish happy birthday to everyone. I know my village of people, friends and family, most of the people that I know birthday is in this month. We have Mr. Lope Moreno. He's gonna have a birthday in a couple days. No. No. I just had a birthday last Sunday, and my brother's birthday is today. So happy birthday, Calito. I had my oldest brother birthday was yesterday, And next week, my son's birthday is the 28th. So we have an entire village of my family and friends that their birthday is in this month. So happy birthday to everyone. And everyone that is having a birthday, is a time of being grateful to be here and to have health and family and friends. So happy birthday to everyone. So Pastor Dennis, how are you doing today? I like your shirt.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I had to switch it up a bit here.
Yes.
It was Laura's birthday 2 weeks ago, so she's
happy
also
birthday,
in November.
Laura. So she is November too.
Yes.
Oh, you have Scorpion in the house too.
We have a unique situation. My daughter and my wife's birthdays, if you flip the first two numbers, they have birthdays. So my wife's is 11-2 and my daughter's is 2-11.
Oh, look at that. You can't forget then. You cannot use that excuse. There's no way you can forget. You might be able to switch it and maybe say this is her birthday instead of, but you can't forget.
That's true.
Yes. True. So talk to me, Pastor Dennis, a little bit about this is a very, very passionate subject for a lot of people. And I said not for a lot of people, I said for the entire world today. This is an area that has been, I feel that it's been in turmoil for a long, long time. And we have the usual suspects that are going and try to advocate or try to mitigate or try to be advocate for these areas, and normally it's not based and they just want to see peace. It's based also on the resources, based on location, based on all of those things. I don't think, I'm gonna say it, I don't think the United States is just there helping because they want peace, but there is always alternate motives behind the reason these countries are involved too.
Yeah. Well, at the base of this is obviously the religious war between Christianity and Islam. And of course, there's been for a long time there's been an element of religious war with the Jews, with the Muslims, and with Christians, all fighting each other. But that hasn't always been true. That has become true because of specific things that have happened. Like when the Muslim faith first started, most of the Arabs were converting to Judaism and or Christianity. And there was an element of Arabs that felt like they were outsiders, and so that's kind of what opened the door for the Muslim faith to begin. And the conflict between the Muslims and Jews and Christians was the fact that Muhammad expected to be embraced by Christianity and Judaism, and instead was fully rebuffed, and that ticked him off. So that there's been a war of sorts ever since.
And I've been reading, I did my little bit of research here, and I've been reading that this has been come around the 1300. It says right here, the far-flung Turkish empire started around 1300, and Wadaka, known as Palestine, or the Mustasafarid of Jerusalem, becomes an Ottoman district by 1516. or so included all the major place names we know today: Hebron, Jaffa, Jerusalem, and Gaza. So these are since the 1300, and then it became a district in the 1516s, and the names of that today those areas are Hebron or Hebron, Jaffa, Jerusalem, and Gaza. So this is a long, long time going conflict. And then when did I have right here? When did the Palestinians enter into the scene? So when the Palestine national consciousness and a Palestine as we know then today emerge, lots of people have lots of different perspective, like most things in the Israelite Palestine conflict. Started in 1516, the area of Palestine was ruled by the Ottomans. Living there were longtime inhabitants, migrants from neighboring Syria, Lebanon, and what is now known as Jordan, and the small Jewish community, and a small Jewish community. In 1834, there was something called the Peasant Revolt, which some scholars point to as a formative event of the Palestine people.
Actually, it starts earlier than that, because when the Arabs took over all that territory that became an empire, they conquered largely Christian lands. And so most of the people in those lands were Christian, but they were overseen by a minority of Arabs. And, over time, many of those Christians converted to the Muslim faith, probably just because, for the same reason why Arabs and Jews tend to convert to Christianity in Christian countries, because that's where the power is, and that's to convert. Then you don't have to deal with the prejudice against your religion.
And I was reading that, like you were saying yesterday, we was talking about this yesterday, and you were saying that a lot of this group of people is more of based on religious because they're related. And I was reading something here. I'm gonna find it in a minute. That is say it has nothing to do with if they're related or not. It has to do more with
religion.
Yes. So because most of, like we was reading, most of people that migrate there, they mingle with each other, and they become, all the group became one, if you want to say that, because they were living together in that area. So to me is so it's more and we have these usual suspects, I like to call them, people that was outside of that ring, that decided that they was going to become more of I would say advocators, not even advocate, intermediators, to be the middle people. And I think by doing that, they created this mess that we have today. And me and you was talking about going back to the Jewish community, because as I'm learning and I'm reading about this, the Jewish community really never has a land that they could call their own. It seems to me is that, and then as we go back to the area of Russia, and I don't know if Russia it was connected, because they said the Jewish and the Palestinians are considered Canaanites. based on and the region that they came from. They came out of that tribe. So they really had nowhere to go. And then we have, and maybe you can jump in and talk a little bit, because then they didn't want them. Russia didn't want them.
Right.
The English didn't want them. And then the English had the bright idea, I don't know how that came about, to say, okay, we can put them in this piece of land and have them live with the Palestine. And rightfully.
When Israel became a nation, fascism was a huge attraction. The U.S. was massively fascist, and as was Germany, and was Russia. And in that scheme, the lighter skinned you were, the more important you were. But Jews were considered as muddy people. I mean, they were basically considered like Southern Europeans. They were darker skinned. We know a lot of Jews today that have light skin, but a lot of that's because of intermarriage. But they were not liked. They were not treated well. In Germany, they had found a good place, but it took a long time for them to be accepted by Germans. And then, of course, when economic downturn happened, then Hitler blamed it on the Jews. So then it turned bad again. But it was always bad in Russia. So they were, Israel. The land that is now Israel was owned by the British. And when World War II ended, they were trying to figure out what to do with the Jews that were displaced in the concentration camps. And of course, the Russians wanted to get rid of the Jews too. So there were a lot of Jews in Russia that wanted to get out of there. So Israel became the place where people could go that didn't feel wanted anywhere else.
So the British colonized that part of the Middle East.
Yeah, the British oversaw Egypt and Israel. I think it was Israel's part of Syria at the time, I think.
But it wasn't Israel then. It was something else.
It wasn't. No, it was Syria.
Okay, it was something else. Okay. And I was reading here, is Palestine mentioned in the Bible? And it says right here in 1 Samuel, referring to the Philistines. The Philistines is, your Hebrew Bible is okay if you don't. Or is going to the people conflict with the Israel. So the Palestines basically are the Philistines. And I was talking to somebody referring to the part in the Bible with David and the giant Goliath. And this person was telling me that Goliath was a Philistine, that today he would have been considered Palestine.
Yeah. Well, it's important to remember too that those parts of the world have changed multiple times. So the pure blood of Palestine with Goliath would probably not translate to the present day Philistines. Or Palestinians, sorry.
So let's talk about what's going on today, because I've been Yes, I was talking to a friend, and he told me, he said, "You gotta come down," because I got so fired about it.
Hmm.
And I was, and yes, there is passion. There is passion flaring all over the place when in concern with this issue, and I was so this and this has been turmoil for a long time in this area of the world. But what happened in October 7, when Hamas attacked Israel, and I thought it was 1,400 people that died, but I'm listening to the news more and more. It's just 1,200. I don't want to say just. I want to say is 1,200 people that die in the side of the Israelites, and a life is a life. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what part or who, what side it is a life. But then we have Benjamin Netanyahu. He there is he decided that he is gonna not just defend himself and defend Israel, but he's gonna annihilate, and maybe I'm saying it wrong, the whole
No, you said it right.
region. Yes, and and for me to see that we are sitting and watching this happen. I mean, I think of it, the Holocaust. We didn't have technology that we have today, that everything can be live and streaming live today, and we still sitting watching this happen live, streaming live, and not able to stop. Is to me to me it's just unconscionable that the UN keeps saying, "Oh, he has to cease fire." I don't know why they just can't go in and say, "You don't stop, we're gonna stop you."
Hmm.
Why they can't do that?
Well, because they don't have authority over a sovereign nation. That's the problem. But one of the
So
primary reasons for Hamas doing what they did, though, was because relations with Israel were normalizing with all of the Muslim nations around, and they were also putting the obliteration of the Palestinian Gaza Strip as a top priority for Israel. This was before Hamas attacked.
mhm.
And so they were putting the having people settle in Gaza and displacing the Palestinians. That was their top priority, and Hamas claims now they were not trying to fix the problem. They were trying to draw attention to the disappearance of the Palestinian question, and that's why they attacked the land that they attacked. Had historically been a place where Israelis would come to sit and watch the Palestinian, the Israeli attacks on Palestine, and that's apparently why they chose that spot to attack. Does that make sense?
I don't know how do you get into a place, and I mean, I guess you been into it so much that you normalize mistreating and abusing and killing people, and with no bias, with no regards. I have heard things that people have saying that I, to be honest, as a human being, I don't care how much anger I will have for you, I would want to do that to you. I mean, I
Yeah.
hear a lady said, because and nobody, people right now, I was driving and I know NPR was talking about now they are getting close to release some of the hostages, and they are working on releasing some of the hostages. Okay, hear this, for 5 days of ceasefire. That's the agreement. Only 5 days of ceasefire. And then where are these people are gonna go? That's the other thing, because and Egypt don't want them, because Egypt knows that if he take the Palestinians, they are not gonna be allowed to come back to their land. And that's why a lot of Palestinians don't want to leave, because it says we leave, we are not going to be allowed to come back. So I heard so much stuff that I don't know. I don't know is I will be this angry, and I don't want to judge, because I can't put my foot on their shoes for the long conflict that's been happening forever there. But that the level of anger and the level of disregard of lives is, and the level of treating people like animals is to me unconscionable. When you withdrawing, when you taking away the basic needs like water, the basic needs like electrician, the basic needs like is barbaric. To me, it's treating them like animal. Or we gonna kill you, and if we're not gonna kill you with arms, we are gonna make sure you are so stressed that you're gonna die one way or another. And for us to sit and watch that and just continue to say, well, Israel, you just need to cease fire, is crazy. I don't know. I mean, there is rules for war, allegedly, but he's breaking every rule. And then over here they're saying, well, we can't go in because then we would be breaking rules too. So, I mean, and at the end of the day, the innocent life of people, children are dying.
It's there's not a clear fix for this, unfortunately. I mean, the best solution we've got is to replace Netanyahu. That he has got to go. And
he's been in power for 16 years.
Yeah, I know. But if they could lose Netanyahu and get somebody who cares about humanity, they could probably dislodge Hamas from the Gaza Strip. Because I don't think the Palestinians really want Hamas there.
Well,
but nobody else is watching out for them, so they're accepting Hamas.
But the thing is that Benjamin is there because he was put there and allowed to be there. That's bottom line. I mean, he is there because he was allowed to be there. For me to now, President Biden released something yesterday, Pat, and he was talking about it, and he said, well, we need to have a two-state. The only solution is a two-state solution for Israel. It has to be. We cannot push away the Palestinians. Finally, he got to his senses. Finally, somebody told him, hey, you got to do something about this. But then the people that are talking, the politicians and the people that study this area forever, they say the only way that can happen if we get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. The only way you're going to get a two-state country in that area is going to be getting rid of him. How is that going to happen? I don't know.
Well, in all fairness to Biden, he was completely focused on stopping a world war. And so he was posturing himself in support of Israel to prevent Iran from stepping into this war in a grander scale, because they were already attacking from Syria. The other group, I can't remember their name of them group right now, but he was that's what was behind his posturing.
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah, yeah, he was trying to stop Hezbollah and Iran from taking a bigger role. So I'm guessing the fact that he's talking more about this may be that he's more comfortable now that we have big firepower in the region, that they're not going to step into the war.
But what does it make him think that he not telling Israel to cease fire is to me is the opposite, because it's these countries are seeing that Israel is doing this to the Palestinians, and they also asking the United States to intervene and do something. What make you think that to me that is even the opposite? Because is you not doing anything, United States, then we're gonna do something, and that is where I thought Lebanon and Egypt and all these other countries around saying, hey, you got to do something, not just do something, and the United States is doing something. What the United States is really doing is sending more money to Israel. What the United States is doing is sending more arms to Israel. So how is these other countries are sitting and watching that and not saying, hey, you are taking sides, really, and not just taking sides with what you say. You taking sides with your actions when you're sending more money and you're sending more weapons to the Jewish people, that they don't need no more weapons. Israel has one of the best armies in the world. They don't need no more money, and they don't need no more money. Now, one thing that I have to say about the new House Speaker, Mike Johnson, I think that's his name. I don't know a lot. I don't think a lot of people know a lot about him, but the little bit that we know about him is not really good. But one thing that I have to commend him is that they signed to for the debt ceiling, so we don't go into another stuff of debt ceiling with they fall in our debt ceiling. But one thing that they excluded from the signing the bill so we can pay our bills was he excluded money to Ukraine and he excluded money to Israel. And I have to applaud that. Yes, we don't have, if you don't have money to help people pay the student loans here, you shouldn't be sending money to, and I have to say, I love this country. I've been in this country for 30-something years. I'm grateful. I have my son, he was born in this country, so I have my heart in this country. And I have told you, Pastor Dennis, I would not have the life that I have if it wasn't for this country. I almost can say I live like a wealthy woman in this country compared to where I come from. But you have to, when something is wrong, you got to say. I mean, I can't sit and see my son abusing somebody, and because he's my son, I'm not going to call him out and say, hey, this is not right. You don't need to, you shouldn't be doing this. And I feel that it's the same. Our responsibility as citizens of the United States is to tell the government of the United States, the politicians of the United States, we love this country, but what you're doing is not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another advantage of withholding funds to foreign nationals is foreign nations as well as uh, Maui is still recovering.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of message are we sending to the people of Maui when when we've not helped them recover and we're sending money to foreign
And it
nations?
seems to be the only money that we have is when it comes to war. That's the only money that we have,
Yeah.
free money to go. God forbid we cut the budget for the Defense Department. God forbid that happen. You know, we gonna cut Social Security. We gonna cut all the supposedly entitlement that they're not entitlement. We pay into all these social services, most of them, but God forbid that we cut the budget of the Defense Department. United States has to stop. They
Yeah.
have to stop with this war thing that is almost and now is coming into our own home backyard when we see all these mass shooting. This is
Yeah.
what happening when we have this thing seated that we always have to be in war. Now we're doing it with each other.
Yeah, and you know that brings up something I was recently reading. We in the U.S. have this. When you know that scripture that says, "He who does not work should not eat."
Mm-hmm.
That is an American interpretation of that text.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the world reads that he who does not have work cannot eat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand the difference there? Instead of this being that scripture being understood as a prohibition
Mm-hmm.
against feeding poor people, that scripture is an acknowledgement that unless a person has a job, they have no way to feed themselves.
And
So give them a job.
yes, and we pick and choose what we want from the Bible, honestly,
We do.
because
do.
God said, you know, one thing I demand from you. I think it's in the book of Isaiah. He said, I demand from you is to feed the poor, is to take care of the widower, and to be fair to the foreign people. You know, and yesterday when I was talking to this person, they were like, yes, Palestine and this and that. I said, you know what? It seems to be that the same people that experience abuse and injustice and genocide, when it's their turn to be in power, they do it and enforce it and they dig their heels. I mean, the Jewish people and the Israels know what it feels to be treated like that. They know what is to be pushed out of their land.
Right.
They know what is to be in a wandering from land to land and people don't want them. So why are they doing this? And God warned them too. He warned them and said, don't do this
Right.
to anybody because you was enslaved for 400 years.
That's the shocking thing. And even with Americans, America started because we didn't have rights. We didn't have opportunities in Europe and in other countries. So regardless of what nationality you are, you came here because you felt out of place in your original country and you were looking for a land of opportunity. So why even here do we displace those underprivileged people and feel good about ourselves? How can we? We were all displaced. That's why we're here.
I don't get it. We have this guy that is running for the Republicans, Vivek. I can't say his last name. Vivek something.
Yeah, the Indian guy.
Yes, and that is a perfect case. He was born here. His mom and dad came from India. His dad is not a U.S. citizen by choice. He didn't want to be, because as long he's been here for a long time, his dad is something. I don't want to be American. I want to keep my nationality. But his mom became. She did nationalize. And the question that was asking him is because he says he went, that I don't think he's going to, that he was going to get rid of people that come into the country, like his mom and dad came into the country. Is that crazy?
Yeah, that's the same thing with Cruz. Cruz is from the same background. You know, the way he came into this country, he opposes anybody else coming in the same way.
It's like, are you serious? Like people that are experienced stuff, when they're in power, they block other people to have the same, opportunities that they had. Is just, to me, is crazy. And
that's what I call being disloyal to your heritage, right?
It is like, but, and and what Israel is doing to the Palestine is devastated. But they want, and I was listening to NPR. They said they're gonna release some in this week. They're gonna try to release some of the hostages. That there are 200 and something hostages. And I don't want to discount nobody life, because I think everybody life has a value, and there's not a value based on your race. Is not a value based on the region where you come from. It's not a value based on your gender. It shouldn't be. We are part of the human race, period, and we should be valued as that. But one of the things that they wanted to do earlier is do a straight trade, and I was talking to you about that. Now, Palestine, nobody's talking about this. Palestine has, Israel has 6,000 people in prison. Palestine's in prison. 6,000 that even living in that area, they're in prison. The water part of it, why it is that Israel has power to cut off water, because they not allow the Palestinians to have their own autonomy when it comes to water. So they control everything in that area, in the Gaza area. And so they throw out this to Benjamin Bibi, they call him, and said, okay, let's do a straight trade. You give us our 6,000 people that you have and in prison, and we would give you 200 or something. And he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that. He wants the people. I don't even think he wants his own hostages, because he's not even talking or doing anything to get these people. He's just trying to bomb everything and get everybody and settle and take over that entire area.
I think that if those hostages are returned, he has no basis for the war that he wants to inflict. Mm-hmm. They give him legitimacy for the genocide that he's trying to commit. I think that's why he's not really interested in those hostages coming home.
Nothing. He wants to. He doesn't want to give in and nothing. He wants to. He said the only way I'm gonna stop is when I'm done with Hamas. But basically, that's just a code word for saying when I'm done completely, or I either push them out. I've
completed my genocide.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's what's behind the whole thing. I think he intended to commit genocide quietly, and Hamas put a spotlight on his agenda, and so now everybody's seeing what Netanyahu had planned.
And I think because they say he was warned by Lebanon, he was warned by Egypt, he was warned by Sudan, And
Yep.
I think, I know, I'm going to throw my little theory up there, a conspiracy theory. I think he did purposely didn't do nothing because he
Yeah.
wanted to justify what he's doing. He's going to say, well, he attacked us, so we got to defend ourselves.
Right.
So he
There's a
purposely,
there's
I
a reason
feel,
why,
he did nothing.
you know, we forget that there's three sides to this war. We've got the Shiite and the Sunni parts of this war. Shiite being the Palestinians and the
Taking my
Iranians.
earrings off.
So and as much as the rest of
My earrings.
you okay?
Yeah, my earrings is killing me. Yes.
I'll bet they are. As much as the rest of the Muslim world hated Iran and hated what was going on with their whole agenda, they also recognized the fact that what Israel was trying to do. So when Hamas attacked Israel, those people weren't stupid. They had a problem with what Hamas did, but they understood the bigger picture. And so they stood with Hamas against Israel, and they've been trying to arbitrate to find a ceasefire, another solution.
Now, Pastor
Thank God
Dennis,
for that.
talk to me a little bit about Zionists. This is a word that I've been hearing lately. With the beginning of this conflict.
Well, Zionism is a belief that the supernatural wants something to happen, and therefore we must support what the supernatural wants.
And that is what? God?
And that is that the Jews should be in Israel. That's Zionism. That there is a place that God has ordained for them to be. And to be honest with you, my position on what's going on right now feels a little uncomfortable, because even though I have not agreed with Zionism, I have, until this conflict, never spoken out against it, so to speak. But there are all kinds of Christians that they believe a version of end times that has only been around for 150 years, that believes that somehow, instead of Jesus being the solution for the problems in Israel, that Jesus is only a partial solution for the Christians, and God's original plan for the Jews hasn't stopped. It's just on pause right now. And so Israel is supposed to land in the Jews are supposed to land in Israel so that they can finish up God's agenda for them. That's the concept behind Zionism. The Israelis thinking that God's not done with them yet, and the Christians accepting that view that God's not done with them as a specific what's the term I like to use? Clique. That's not my word, but a tribe. There we go. As a tribe, God is not done with the tribe as a private agenda. But we believe that when Jesus came, he presented God's universal agenda for all of creation, and not just for a tribe. But some people believe that God is still very tribal, and that Israel is one of God's tribal agendas, and Christianity is another of God's tribal agendas.
Yeah, and I was looking here. It says in 1897, August 21 through August 31st, First Zionist Congress meets in Basel, Switzerland, convened by Theodor Herzl, sets out the Zionist platform, also known as the Basel Program, the first manifesto of the Zionist movement. It established that Zionism seeks to establish a home for the Jewish people in Palestine, secure under public law. World Zionist Organization is founded, and it was founded in 1901. Jewish National Fund, established by the Fifth Zionist Congress and organized with the purpose of buying and developing land in Ottoman Palestine.
Be aware that Zionism is not just used relating to Israel finding a nation, but Zionism is also used for the idea that America is God's country for today. So there's American Zionism and there's Jewish Zionism. Those are two different things.
And this is interesting that you even say that, because it feels with this conflict more than ever for me that there is a relationship to me it looks toxic with the United States and Israel. It's very toxic. When, God forbid, we cannot say nothing wrong about Israel. There's no way. And this is so toxic. And it also is based on this religious belief that the Jewish people are the chosen ones of God. So I don't know if the politicians are doing that because of that. I doubt it. But I know for the church, people just tell you, you can't say nothing. Doesn't matter what the Jewish people do. We cannot speak against them because they are the chosen people.
We're returning back to imperialism. It's an old way to look at the relationship between religion and state. It was a way that was used to manipulate people for a particular state, and the Romans did that. The Persians did that. All of those guys did that back then. But we are returning back to that same thing where we're marrying religion and state, and that the state has to win because otherwise their God wouldn't win. Does that make sense? We've married God to the state, so that if we want to believe in the God, we have to unconditionally believe and support the state that he represents.
We created a narrative, God, and we want to make sure that narrative fulfills in order to keep people believing. Wow. It's not God, and we are making sure as human beings those things that we put about God needs to happen. And that's basically what we're doing at all costs,
And the problem with that is that reveals who is the originator of that religion. If it's something I have to do to keep the survival of the religion, then I'm the one that created it.
Absolutely.
It's man-made.
Yes.
It's not God-made.
Yes.
And that fuels the atheist debate with religion even further, because we're acting like this is a human-based religion that we have.
Yes. It is.
If it
We
was
make
God
it
based, He would be in charge, not
we
us.
we making God more like us than we like
Exactly.
God.
Hmm.
Yes, and it's just crazy. But I wanted to talk the difference. I don't know how much time Christian is not here, so I don't know how much time I have. But we the difference between the war of Ukraine. I was talking to you about that, and this war today is such a big distinction when you see. And I was reading a little bit. The war in Ukraine started in 2021. Today, Russian people has killed 400 Ukraine kids. That's it. I think it says about 5,000 Ukrainians have died since the war started. Is night and day. It is night and day. It's just crazy, and I question it because I feel that for some reason all these usual suspects that are running all these different wars make sure they sit down and say we are going to minimize the collateral damage and this war in Ukraine. And we see a lot of buildings and stuff when they show pictures, but you don't see the disaster that we see in the Middle East. We see the people crying, we see people digging up people, we see babies. It's just heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
how did you put value on some people's life and on other people not? I still can't get around that.
Yeah.
I can't get around that. I just can't. How did you make sure this war and President Obama, President Biden, he is committed to continue to help Ukraine. He's committed to do that. But you see, the casualties are not even close to what's going on in Israel, in the Gaza Strip, and
Yeah.
and that to me is questionable too. And that you cannot uphold and said to Benjamin, we're not gonna support you, we're not giving you money, we're not giving you anything till you stop. He's gonna continue.
Yeah.
He is an entitlement, and even as the entire world stood against him, is he has the United States backing him up, he is not gonna stop.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. However, I don't think that's why the money is going there. The money was going there to deter Iran. It was a show. However, I'm not sure that show was worth it because the money is still going to end up in Netanyahu's pocket.
But you know that the United States every year sends about $3.8 billion to Israel, whether it's a war or not.
I know.
Whether it's a war or not, they send him money every day, every year.
No, and I think we need to rethink that to bring them back into line. It's one thing when they were fighting a battle to even stay in the land, but I don't think that's necessarily the problem right now. I think the problem right now is his mistreatment of Palestinians.
I gonna say I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna say the Jewish people are doing the same thing that the colonizers did to the indigenous people.
Absolutely.
They doing the same thing. They did a genocide to the native. Today the native are really a small section of our country. They pushed them into the worst land. They killed them. They came and said, now this land is mine, you gonna take this. and they brought sickness to the natives. There is a high level of alcoholism in that community, domestic violence. So we have to, and they push them out in a way that they're non-existent. They're not part of they're not a vital part of this country. When you think about education, when you think about all these events, you don't see the natives. So this is a very long, we have 2 minutes, but this is what they're doing to the Palestinians. Exactly what they did to the natives.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
It's ugly.
And I'm not sure do we really have 2 minutes, because we started late.
Yeah, but we had another show. We have another show. It's not Christian. We let us talk the whole day. So, yes, Pastor Dennis. So, yes, thank you for sitting with me. Thank you. I know we started late. And I just wanted to thank you and thank everyone that is listening. Remember, we are a human race. And what happened across the world should impact us in one way or another. Yeah. So we need to keep speaking, and we need to keep pushing President Biden to do the right thing. He needs to do the right thing. The politicians, they need to do the right thing. Yeah. So everyone, bless you. Thank you. And I wanted to, last minute, tell everyone we having a first Christmas festival. Is the 9th of December here in Pierce County. The first one is something that the Union Radio, Latin Union Radio is given this first Christmas festival. It would be the 9th of December from 1 to 9. What is the address, Chris? Chris knows the address. Chris knows a little bit about it. I'm putting you on your spot.
Yes, I will. We have a flyer in the web, in the social media. We have it in Facebook, and we're gonna be. I don't have the address because it's kind of complicated. That building has like 3 different entrances, and that's why we don't really want to say the address. But it's in UW Tacoma, and like you said, it's on December the 9th from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So
everybody come down and have fun. Food, music, dance. Wow. Everybody come down that day. Okay, Pastor Dennis.
Okay.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Okay.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Los deportes en BT Radio Universal. Resultados, estadísticas y análisis sobre tus deportes favoritos. Te espero los domingos de 11 a.m. a 12 p.m. Bienvenidos a la información deportiva desde Mount Vernon, Washington, con Juan José Maldonado, Juanito 70. Y recuerda, los deportes son energía, salud y superación. Los deportes en BT Radio Universal.
Hey, ¿te gusta la literatura infantil? Déjame te leo cada domingo a las 12 del mediodía en Leyendo con tu Guina, programa conducido por Laura Ariza Serna. Escucha y sigue nuestras lecturas en voz alta a través de www.btradiouniversal.com y de las redes sociales Facebook y YouTube como BT Radio Universal. Asimismo, puedes escuchar y seguir la retransmisión en One America Voice 106.5 y en KTQA 95.3. Embárcate en este viaje a través de historias sorprendentes escritas en español. En Leyendo con tu Guía.
Buen día, todo el día, todos los días. Soy su servidor Miguel Ángel Gaitán, invitándolos cordialmente a Ecos de la Comunidad. Los lunes y los viernes a partir de las 12 de mediodía tenemos información, noticias de último momento, de última hora, también entrevistas que consideramos de interés para usted. Manténgase informado y una persona bien informada es menos manipulada. Ecos de la Comunidad.